Thank you, Sarah. That what I have to say follows on really beautifully from that. So thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Oh, up. Is that better? Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. No. I know I have a really soft voice, so I'm going to have to kind of lean forward like this. Okay. All right. So my name's Charlotte, and I'm here to talk to you about focusing. Focusing, it's an orientation that you can actually use with any kind of therapy, which is so amazing. So whether you're a psychoanalyst or a body worker, whatever your modality is. And focusing, it's about going to the edge of your regular thinking and your regular concepts, this fluid edge, where you find a palpable, fuzzy, kind of felt experience of all your issues and your situations. Now, this fuzzy experience isn't regular emotions that you're familiar with, happy, sad, mad. It's not even sensations, although those are doorways to a felt sense. It's the feeling sense is the specific mood, atmosphere, felt meaning of the more that's there with that issue. And that's what you're working with, that's what you're opening. Focusing, it arises from Eugene Genlin's philosophy of the implicit. It's an amazing, beautiful, radical philosophy. And it's backed by research that Eugene Genlin and Carl Rogers did into what makes therapy work. How come some clients move and change and others don't? And what they found was they found three main ways that clients process, two of which they called dead ends, and one of which led to lasting change. So I'm going to give this a go. Hang on. I'm pointing it in the right direction. Oh, there we go. My little stick drawing. Okay. So the first dead end was when clients just talked about their experience, but they weren't relating, they weren't feeling it, they weren't experiencing it. The second dead end is where clients were emoting cyclically. So it was the same angry, the same anxious, the same sad over and over. But this third way, this way where clients actually shifted, what these clients did, and you could often tell even in the first few moments or the first few minutes of the first session, is that when they were exploring an issue, their speech would slow down, become faltering, and it would become quite unusual. Because what these clients were doing was they were sensing into this palpable, felt experience of what they were talking about, and they were symbolizing the qualities that they found there. And they were symbolizing them using unusual poetic language, metaphors, gestures, sounds. So what is this magic ingredient? So we tend to live in this narrow level of consciousness, our regular thinking. It's very narrow. It needs to be simple and linear because it's about keeping ourselves safe, finding mates, finding shelter, not getting eaten. So it needs to be linear, it needs to be rational, past, present, future, cause and effect. Yeah. But actually what we really are is this vast more underneath, this unconscious, or Jean calls it the implicit. And it's been found that this implicit, our unconscious, processes millions of times more data, millions of times faster than our conscious selves, our regular selves. And not only this, but it puts together permutations that our conscious self would never, ever think of. So it's very, very creative and very, very fluid. So what we're doing in focusing is, here we go. So the top is explicit conscious, the underneath is implicit unconscious or semi-conscious. So what we do in therapy is we lay out our issues. We then go down to this murky zone and we symbolize. Because what's so important about this murky zone is it's like a border town. That these two realms are totally different. The conscious and the unconscious are like two different universes. So how do they communicate? They communicate through this felt sense, which is this band in the middle. And this band speaks both languages, just like border towns in Europe that speak both languages, so does the felt sense. And its common language is images, metaphors, movements, and sounds. So we lay out our issue, we come to this murky zone, and we wait with an open curiosity. And something comes from that underneath, and it comes fully processed. It comes as a package of the next step. And as we feel into that murky zone, and we symbolize the qualities with these unusual words, images, and metaphors, it lifts out into our conscious awareness, and as it lifts out, it shifts us. And it shifts us on every level. It shifts us in our thinking, it shifts us in our feeling, and it shifts us how we have it in our bodies. And not only that, this forward movement is just the right forward movement, just the right forward step for how our whole organism has that thing. And so that's why it lasts to this, that leads to this significant lasting change. So we know this because this is basically any good therapy. This is what happens. Yeah, and we know it. We know it when there's this sense of aliveness, surprise, fluidity. Like we're just on this, we're riding this edge together. And so Jean came up with 6 steps so that we can do this more intentionally, so it doesn't just come willy-nilly. There are many, many, many steps and movements you can make in focusing, but for now I'm just keeping it kind of to these basic steps. And there are various ways you can lay out these steps. So there's laying out your issue, or you can just go inside too, but laying out your issue, finding that, waiting at that palpable fuzzy edge, symbolizing it, finding handles, symbols, resonating those back with your body. Do those fit? Your body always knows there's a sense of like a rightness or a clicking in. Then there are many things you can do there. There are certain asking into questions and shift questions you can use there. And then just noticing in your body that receiving the shift and the change. So these are the kind of foundation of the whole, there's a whole world of focusing, and this is the foundation of that. So I'd love to be able just to, maybe we could just have a little experience of the felt sense, if we could do another experiential, if you feel up for it. It's only take a minute or two. So if you would like to give it a try, either close your eyes or just look down, just at your way of turning your attention inwards. And just checking in there, your throat, your chest, and your belly. Just noticing how you are there. And then just bringing in something that you really love, just inviting something into the room that you really love. It can be an object or an activity. You really adore this thing. And if a couple of things come, see if you can just rest on one. And as you look at this something, just notice your breathing. Just also notice the right distance. Is this thing, do you need it near or a little way away? Noticing the right distance there. And just sensing in, how is that in your body, in your throat, in your chest, and your belly? What's the quality there? Just seeing maybe as you sense the qualities, does a word or words come there? Maybe an image. Does that have a posture or a gesture? Maybe even a memory pops in here. Okay, so now just asking that very loved, beloved thing to leave the room. Watch it go. And now just inviting something you're not so keen on. Not your worst thing, but it could be an object or an activity that you're not so keen on. Just allowing that in the room. Again, notice your breathing. And noticing what's the right distance for this thing. You can still feel it, but it's just the right distance. As you keep it company, what are the feeling qualities there in your body, your throat and your chest and your belly? Again, as you sense there, are there words that fit? Maybe an image. Maybe there's a posture that goes with this experience. And anything that comes, just checking with your body, is that just how it is for me? Okay, so now letting that not so nice thing, just let that leave the room. Just notice how that is in your body as it leaves. And now just asking that beloved thing back, just asking that loved thing back into the room. And now noticing, how is that in your body? What's the experience of that? Is it the same as before? Is it different? And then just in your own time, coming back to the room. So if you had different experiences there, those experiences are doorways to a more. Both those experiences you can open up with focusing, and a whole implicit intricacy will come with either of those. And a whole load of realizations and shifts will come. Those are doorways. So this is just showing a doorway to a feeling sense. So I just want to share a little snippet of a case, because it kind of helps illustrate this a bit. And so in focusing-oriented therapy, you can guide somebody in, or you can use focusing more seamlessly in a conversation, in a more improvisational way, which is what I tend to do. And as well as trying to help your client to focus, what's important is that you're focusing yourself. It's a wonderful guide when you're working in sessions. And so I'll just share a little snippet, and this is a snippet with Anna. Anna is an artist who works with trees and has a lot of anxiety about the current political and environmental climate right now. And she came in with a sense of like an unnameable dread about the vulnerability of nature. So here goes. So I said, so as you tune into that threat for those trees, what comes here? And I motion to my throat and chest and belly. We sat quietly together, sensing the quality of that unnameable feeling. And words and images started flowing from that place. She said, such a tightness. It's like my skin and muscle have been removed and my heart is just there, raw and exposed. It feels so vulnerable and unprotected, and her face contorted in anguish. So I said, resonantly reflecting, it's so raw there. And she nodded and put her hand on her heart as we waited at this edge. And she said, yes, memories are coming of when I was 6 years old and my dad left me with my mother, who was in the middle of her addiction. I was so heartbroken. I was so unprotected. So I said, resonantly reflecting, right there, so heartbroken and so unprotected. She said, yes, I would go out into the woods at the back of my house and sit in the trees, and they would keep me company. And I said, oh, they were your company. So as we sat at this edge, if I could see, I could sense the trees literally curling round her and embracing her and supporting her. And so I shared this, and I said, it almost feels like they're cradling you now. She had this lovely kind of look of serenity on her as she lay back. And she said, yes, I can feel their branches and their strength, and it gives me so much solidity, so much rest inside. She then suddenly leaned forward and said with a sense of recognition, oh, I get it now. Just as the trees protected me then, now I'm trying to protect them and speak for them in my work. And her face shone and her eyes were wide open with wonder and understanding. She was in a completely different place from when she came in, even just a few minutes before. So it's really amazing, after all these years of working with focusing, it's really amazing how these shifts come from this vast implicit, and how we can help to bring clients to this edge, how we can be there together, and how we can trust the shifts that come. So thank you.